Me and my teammates took part in the 6 hours of Le Mans. We all had plenty of practice and preparation for the 24 hours of Le Mans, which are unfortunately delayed towards October, which means we had pretty high chances for this 6-hour special event. So we were pretty confident of getting good results and even winning the races. So what could go wrong, right? But let us get started at the beginning. A few weeks ago, even before the 24 hours of Le Mans, in real life took part and we started our preparation. So as you can see, from the 2nd June until 15th of June, I did a lot of practice on Le Mans. The races reached from 1 cent sprints to Super 60s or even 2.4 hour races I did on my own or with friends to get as much practice in order to prepare for the upcoming Le Mans events. In my opinion, the results looked really good and I was really proud of them. I even was in the top 50 leaderboard times, which were not A in times I did, but they were decent enough to stick up there. So let me introduce you to the teammates I did the first race with. I'm gonna start with Nuri. I know this guy since November. He is the most consistent and fastest driver I know, which makes it even more special is the fact that he is on controller. In the team we consider him as our personal coach, lap guide and LDM. The second teammate of my first race is Riley. He is also with us quite a time now and is a valued driver in our lineups. He is also known for his consistency and great pace even without practice at all. And the last driver for our trio is me, Benjamin. If I had to describe me in a few words, I would say that I'm really passionate at the things I do and I want to be the most competitive I can be in sim racing. So that's the lineup for the race. But the most important thing is missing. Our car. In all of the 3 races we're gonna drive the Porsche GT3, because that's the car we all have been driving the most over the last time. So let us jump right into the first race. By the way, all the races took part in Split 2. The LMU ranking didn't put us in first split, but we didn't bother about it at all. The quality of the first race was of course done by our fastest driver Nuri. He put us with a high 3:56 on P2. And as you can see by this small compilation of Nuri's outlap, he tried to cut as much as he could to maybe get an extra counted lap in, which unfortunately didn't happen. To be fair, it was pretty funny for us at that time in the voice call to see him like cutting every corner, going off every chicane just for a small improvement and still not making it for an extra lap. So there we are, P2, race start, 6 hours of Le Mans and Riley in the car. We all were pretty hyped in that moment and looking forward for a really exciting race. A fact we didn't know in that moment was that the temperatures on track were really high and it was really hard to get consistent and fast laps in the first 2 stints. So green, 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 off we go with a really close race start, not trying to crash into the Porsche in front of us. So there we are at Tertre Rouge, the Lexus right behind us, right into the slip, making the gap smaller. And he's even going for the overtake there. He's not making the lift that we are doing. Does the overtake right into the chicane, really good send. And we lose a position and stay in P3 right now. So now it's our time to snuck back into the Lexus slipstream, which unfortunately didn't work. Both of them, the Porsche and the Lexus, made the gap bigger. So we have another problem, which is the Ford Vicic right behind us with a Corvette in his slipstream. So he was saving for even one more lap than we were saving at. And that's why he lifted off so much more than we did. And that's even why the Corvette sent it into the first chicane, as you see here. Nice overtake done. Vicic slowed down so much more because of the saving he did. Now we have the Corvette right behind us. So the Corvette is around under 1 second gap behind us, and he's closing in because he is not saving at all. He's just full pushing on his first stint, and that's why he's closing in so much. Decent run out of the chicanes, and we are approaching T1 with the Corvette right behind us, and he is looking for a move on the T1. He takes the inside, which is going to be the outside on the first turn, and the inside on next turn. We just let him pass with lifting off. We just let him go because he's not saving, not in our strategy. We're gonna get him in the end. We managed to stay pretty close to the Corvette, even though he was not saving. Our pace, or Riley's pace, was nearly the same that he did on full push. We managed to save even more due to more fuel saving we could do with the slipstream. As you can see on the in-lap now of Riley, he's pretty close into the Porsche turns, in between I would say 1 or 0.8 seconds. We're in that gap. Approaching the pit lane, very close gap in between. The Corvette is taking it pretty safe here, so he's slowing us a bit down onto the chicanes. He nearly goes off there on the brakes. And there you can hear the loud engine sound right next to us, which is the McLaren, which is into P4 right now. Really close gap. Just look at the pit entries. We're really close together. This is going to be pretty fun on the exit of the pits. And it's only the first stint we're in. And thanks to the margin saving from Riley, because this is going to settle us in front of the Corvette and the McLaren, which means clean air for us and gives us the opportunity to pull away from them, making the gap bigger. Now the McLaren has to fight with the Corvette to gain or lose positions for either of them. So there we are approaching Indianapolis, just with a small bigger gap towards the Corvette behind us, and just a small dive bomb from the LMP here, but didn't slow us down too much because we were saving anyways. But this could end pretty quick if the LMP is not skilled enough to do these overtakes. And there we are at the end of Riley's second stint. The McLaren is now right behind us because the vet boxed 1 lap earlier and because he was not saving. Now we're gonna have the exact same thing that happened on the last stint. Really close pit entry with the McLaren just 0.3 seconds behind us. And again, thanks to the more saving Riley did, we're gonna end up in front of the McLaren with a, I would say, quite bigger or like even the same gap again. Which means we are on the same saving lines or saving strategy than they are. The end of Riley's second stint also means that Nuri is jumping into the car for his double stint. Which in general means for us, now he's pushing, now he's getting the fast laps in, and now he's going to close the gap for the Lexus. I mean, that was his goal to achieve, and you're gonna see in a second, he did. He closed the gap in 1 stint from 13 seconds down to 5 seconds, I think it was, into the pits. On the pit exit, he was able to stay right behind the Lexus, which means he's going for the overtake as quick as he can. You're gonna see it from the onboard of this Porsche right now. Look how close we're gonna exit in front of him and stay right behind the Lexus. As I mentioned, just after the first 3 corners, Nuri is going for the overtake because we didn't change tires, we are double stinting, and the Lexus is changing one side every stint, which means Nuri can go for the overtake because they're gonna be slow, and we did it. Which basically means on track we are in P2 right now again, because the Porsche on P1 is just pushing all the time, not saving fuel. We're just gonna give him a longer pit stop at the end. For us, it's just gonna be a stop for 1 lap at the end, and for him it's gonna be around 5, 6, 7, even 8 laps. Nuri's stint comes to an end, just 1 overtake done, and increased the gap up to 6 seconds just on this stint alone. But due to the tire change we did, now I am in the car, full colds, full new, and the Lexus just tuck in right behind us. I was trying to get away and defend the position, but Unfortunately, the tires were so cold I couldn't even try to increase the gap on the first sector, which means the Lexus is just right behind me after Tetra Rouge. And he's just gonna send it on the first chicane, that's what I knew. And that's what he did as well. After the overtake, I was ready to stay in the slipstream, save even more and get him in the pits afterwards. But now the swerving starts, and that's what he did on the whole race. Every time I get close to him, he just swerves left to right, middle, right. Like, it was really hard to stay right behind him. And that's also the point where he got right into my head. It was really hard for me to stay focused at that time, because that swerving made it really hard for me to stay consistent and get into the tunnel vision I normally get in. After the Mulsanne straight, I was getting close to him nearly every lap, and I wouldn't dare to send it into Indianapolis, so that's why I backed off and saved even more. Some of his swerving was still not predictable for hypers, so there were some pretty close calls sometimes because he was not predictable. He was just going left to right to the middle, and he was not on racing lines or anything. Another thing that was bothering us a lot were the track limits. As soon as Nuri took over after Riley, I think he gained from like 0.5 track limits that Riley did. We ended up on pretty much 5 track limits after my stint, or 5.25. So Nuri had 0.5 track limits to go for the DT, and that's the thing we didn't want. All of us were trying to really not get track limits, not get track cuts, but they were really strict after driver changes, which made it really hard for us to stay in the focus, to stay on consistent lap times and fast lap times. We had to slow down so much, like on corner exits, especially around Tetra Rouge, it was hard. The last chicanes were hard, and the chicanes on Mulsanne made it really hard for us to stay on track. And as you can see, the Porsche on the P1 is saving now as well, which means he's pretty late for the party there. He's not gonna save that much laps that we did. So the Lexus is just getting a free position there. He's just overtaking him. Porsche is letting by. A few laps later we also get into that situation. We're gonna approach the Porsche onto T1. He's gonna go deep, have a not a good exit, I would say. That's where we gain a lot on him. I'm gonna just overtake him, he's gonna back off, which makes it pretty easy for us. Not gonna lose time there and stay right behind the Lexus. So on the last lap of my first stint, I was closing in really much on the Lexus. I was getting close to him on Indianapolis, close to him after Indianapolis again, which made it pretty good for our pit entry. I was under 1 second behind him. If I'm not gonna mess up, I would end up pretty much 2 to 3 seconds in front of him, because I was not gonna change tires and he's gonna change one side every stint. But that's when I just missed my pit box. I was stopping too early to not hit the hypercar because it looked really close there, and I had to get back on the throttle again. That must have lost me like 1 to 2 seconds. But we end up just right in front of the Lexus again. And we're gonna be on warm tires. He's gonna have one side cold, which is gonna affect in me pulling away from him, getting the gap bigger. But no, we're gonna have more problems with track limits onto the first turns. She's gonna have to stop on the exit and get back onto the throttle again. It was really hard to get that track limits under control. Also, 1 or 2 close calls with the hypercars on the second stint. Some of them sending it into Indianapolis, but nothing major, not much contacts, really clean race so far. So that is also the end of my second stint. Not a lot happened there, just got in front of the Lexus, made the gap bigger up to 7 seconds there, and get Nuri into the car, who's gonna end the race on the last 2 stints. So another thing Nuri was struggling with as well were the last chicanes, and major problem of us all was the track limits. And every time Nuri was having problems at the last chicanes, as you can see right here, he just goes off the curb too much and goes too wide there into the sand. The Lexus right behind us was getting the chicane perfect, and he was gaining there a lot of time that we lost there. But we are not the only ones who were struggling with the track limits. As you can see, the Lexus just cuts too much at Tetra Rouge and has to slow down a lot to get not track limits. And that's where we get the time back we lost. We're gonna overtake this Ferrari, which is lapped on the right side. And this one is also gonna lap by the Lexus. Gonna snuck into our slipstream though in the meanwhile. And so now we are approaching the last 30 minutes and I was about to leave. I was about to go for the next race. I was gonna do with Niels from DCS. And as soon as I was about to leave, I just see this. Nuri cutting the second chicane so much. And you can see it from multiple perspectives right here. And I was so scared to see the DT symbol right next to our name, but luckily it didn't happen. So I just stayed for 1 or 2 minutes more and texted Nuri, don't test my sanity, because I was about to lose it. And there you see him, next Tetra Rouge, cut it again. Lexus just stalks us like his prey. He's gonna be right up our ass again. And he is ready for sending it into any chicanes as soon as he's getting close. But then I left the session. I didn't even know how the race ended, how close it was, and how big of a battle Nuri was in. The chance that Nuri got a DT was also pretty big, because he didn't have much track limits left. I guess I have to let you guys also wait until the point I originally found out myself. So let us get right into the second race, into the quali. My teammate for the second race is Niels. I can't give you a big of a backstory because it's the first time I'm approaching him, so let's hope for the best. Our pace were pretty similar, so for the quali we just threw a coin. I bet it on heads, and guess what it fell on? Heads. So I tried to be as fast as I could on my quali run, since I kinda wanted to impress my new teammate. And that's how it went. I just went way too far on the left because the tires were not in the perfect temperature right now. And I didn't want to lift off the throttle to don't lose that much time. And that's why I went into the right side of the wall. And if you think that's not that big of a deal, you might forget the point that we only have 16 tires for a 6-hour race at Le Mans. Which means we only have 4 tire sets, including the quali tires, which meant we have to double stint these tires that I just drifted around Tetra Rouge again in the race. And after that big of a slide I had, it was pure silence in the VC. I wouldn't even dare to say anything, and Niels, I think he was just flabbergasted. And that's when I said, I am so stupid. I apologized for the big slide I had and for the unnecessary push I did. And he accepted and he said, don't worry, it's not that big of a deal. And I instantly said, I'm just gonna use the tires in the race because I did the failure. And we both were fine with that. Also, that big of a slide meant that my second lap is gonna be even harder because I had suspension damage and rear damage. So that's why I only did a 58 flat in the quali counted lap I got. And I was really mad about it because I knew I was gonna be faster, or it could be faster. But the used tires from the slide and the damage made it even harder, so we had to deal with it. I mean, it was even P4 after that lap. We also both agreed that I am starting the race, which means I was still a bit scared of binning it into the first laps or sliding again or having some spins, so I was not really confident about my skill and about the car at all. But let us have a look how it went. So there we are, race start on P4, right behind 2 Porsches and 1 Aston, who snuck up to P3. But on formation lap we are starting in front of him instantly, getting an overtake before the start finish line as well. So we're just on P3 after the race start behind the 2 Porsches. So I'm gonna try to overtake the Porsche on the outside here, but the side draft comes back in. Porsche, the blue one, stays in front of me. I'm gonna have to stay behind him, get some slipstream to try to get close to him and do a move on the next chicane. I'm faster here, the side drive is not coming in, I stay on the inside and dive up in, stay in front of him, and he's gonna be close on me on the exit. He's gonna try to come back to me to decrease the gap between us. The blue Porsche and us were pretty much similar pace until a few laps later, where I closed in on the yellow P1 Porsche in front of us and I let the gap come down towards Tetra Rouge, and I had a better exit there, so I was pretty close to him, getting into his slip, having the overspeed until the next chicane where I send it up the inside. And after the chicane, I stayed in front of him, tried to break the slip with 2 little swerves I did there, but didn't work, so I stopped it after the swerves. He gets close to us until the next chicane, but he lifts off and doesn't want to risk it there, just saves fuel, the same that we are doing, but we were faster with it. And that's the end of stint 1. I go to the pits, refuel the car, let the tires on, and until that moment, the first race ended and Nuri finished the race. But I couldn't check. I was in the car, I couldn't check Discord, I didn't read any messages. So I just heard the notification sounds rolling in 4 or 5 times. I was hoping it was like a good result from Nuri. He was just telling me, we won it, we were P1 mates. But I didn't know it. I was still a bit excited for the results to roll in. But I'm just gonna know it after this stint. So let's focus and get it quickly done. This stint was pretty eventless, just some hypercar moments like this one. He sends it up Tetra Rouge on the inside, but that wasn't like pretty close one. It's still compromising exits, but we had such a good gap to P2 and P3. So that already was the second stint. It was pretty quick. I was pretty happy to finish the second stint. And that means Niels is now in the car and I can finally have a look at the Discord messages and the pictures and also the results of our first race with Nuri and Riley. Here you see Nuri entering the pits for his last pit stop. He's gonna refuel for 1 lap. So it's the last lap of this race. Here you see the Lexus. He's right behind us in a gap of 3 to 4 seconds. Entering the pits as well for the refuel of the last lap of the GT3s. And you're gonna see how close we are exiting the pits right as the Lexus is entering them. Which is gonna end up in a gap of 5 seconds. And they are gonna be enough for Nuri to stay on P1, finish the race as the GT3 class leader. And he's gonna finish our first try of the 6 hours with a win. So let's jump back to the race, which is ongoing right now at that moment. Niels is in the car still. He is doing pretty good jobs. He's a bit slower than I was, but still faster than the guys behind us. And he only had a small moment there on Porsche turns. A small snap. Goes a bit wide, but nothing major at all, just some small mistakes. And there he enters the pits. That was his first stint done, now he's going for the second one. Of this stint I didn't even found some interesting clips, it was just a mega consistent race from both of us. So I'm just back in the car having some overtakes, some lapped guys. For example, this Dynaco Lexus in front of us. He's just gonna let us pass easily and stay in our slip to maybe he gains some time, but we are just 1 minute 50 I think it was ahead of the second place, so we were pretty much in a safe spot. If nothing goes wrong, we're just winning this race easily. Also again some small dive bombs from hypers, but we were used to it. We just saved a tiny bit more than usual, so to stay out of trouble. And here comes another dive from a white hypercar, he completely missed the first chicane. He sent it a bit too much, but we kept it safe anyways. And here you're gonna see a moment which could end pretty bad, to be honest. There comes a LMP in front of us, also a BMW hypercar, which is faster than LMPs, and he kind of sends it on the LMP. LMP wants to go for a switchback, which I didn't expect it to switch back a hyper, which is completely on another class. He can just stay behind him and use some slip. And here you see it from my onboard. I was focusing on the exit, and there just comes the hyper right in front of us. I even tried to break down, and I couldn't do it in time. You can see it from this BMW perspective as well. He sends it around the NMP, he goes for his switchback or the inner line, and I just completely spun him. Luckily he didn't crash into the wall, he didn't have much damage, and luckily we didn't have much damage as well. We only had some bumper, I think it was, so nothing major. Here comes another overtake on a lapped car. I didn't really know what he was trying to do. He stayed on the outside. I stuck up the inside, was hoping for him to lift because I didn't want to go side by side with a lapped car towards Porsche turns. I'm kind of confident doing that when I'm overtaking for a position, but not for a lapped car, so it was kind of strange overtake, but it was clean anyways. And in I go for the last two stints, which is going to be Niels in the car. But after his first stint, he mentioned that he is kind of tired. It was also pretty late anyways, and I said it's no problem, I can go for the last stint. I don't mind. And I went for the last stint. He was watching it also, kind of enjoying it. It was nothing major happened, not some exciting clips I could take. So here we see our final 4 chicanes at this race, and this is going to be our win. The second win on this 6 hours special event weekend. I was pretty happy trying to do some burnouts, some donuts, but you're gonna see I kinda have to practice them more, I guess. I kinda messed them up, but we won it anyways. Not with a great donut at the end, but we were really happy about it. So here we go. Race number 3 out of 3. I nearly start with a donut again, but that's the quali, that's not the race. And so, wait for celebration. I'm gonna do the race with Andrew together. We are only 2 drivers for this 6-hour last race event that we are doing, and I'm gonna start with the quali. Wait for the traffic light to go green and go with the outlap from me. I was really trying to not crash, really trying to make it safe. Not like the last race I did. And it seemed to work. The first counter lap was a 58.3. Not the fastest, but I kept it safe as a bunker because I was gonna screw up on the next lap. As you can see on Indianapolis, I don't know why I was trying to carry more speed and just went wide. Kinda clip into the wall. I still had green delta, so I kept on going, but as soon as I got this light on Porsche turns, I know it wasn't worth to continue anymore, so I stopped the second lap and we started on P4. So here we go, the third race, the last race of this weekend, and we're starting from P4 next to the Porsche. It was really close in the formation lap, and green, here we go. Continue to stay next to him on the first chicanes, kinda make a bit of contact, and we're gonna get right behind him, snuck into his slip, and I'm gonna dive it up the inside. Didn't really want to do it, but he was pretty early on the brakes and I misjudged the cold brakes, so I sent it up the inside. I kinda pushed him wide, and the next moments that are following, I'm not proud of them. We're still side by side into the next turn before Tetra Rouge, and I just pumped him off. Like, that's not even an overtake, I wouldn't call it that. I just completely sent it up the turn, completely misjudged the brakes again, and sent him complete wide. I'm completely not proud of that. I'm not trying to talk myself out of that, but that wasn't fair at all. And I was really sorry about it, and that's what I showed him in the chat as well. I told him I really don't want to do it. So as you can see, we're still in P3 right now in front of the BMW, and the next further laps we kinda did a gap on him, so we are catching up the Lexus and the Porsche just in P1. The Porsche on the quali or in the race was quite up to my pace, I would say. He was as fast as I was, and you're gonna see on the next straight, the Lexus is maybe a known person, because all of a sudden he starts swerving again. And we also knew from the name, it was the same guy I approached in the first race, and this race I was more close to him, I would say. I kinda tried to save as much as I can when I was in his slip, until some hypers sent it up in the inside, because I was pretty slow because of the saving. And that slowed me down even more, but my pace was pretty fine. I kept up with them, pretty close on them again when a hyper spins and the Porsche just straight went into him. The Lexus slowed down, the perfect thing you have to do there when someone's crashing. I mean, I was sending it anyways. You're gonna see it on the Lexus POV. The Porsche just tries to drive straight through him. Like, I don't know what his idea was behind that, but Lexus slowed down. He was trying not to hit him, and you're gonna see it from the outside again. The Porsche just completely clipped him, and it is pretty obvious on the next straight. The Porsche is losing time. Might have been that he got suspension damage or something from that. Definitely damage, like he hit him so hard. So he was pretty slow on the next chicane. I kind of throw a dummy to send up a dive, but I didn't really want to do it. And I stayed in the slipstream and just go for the overtake. I had pretty lots of overspeed. I just get in front of him and look at the gap I'm forming until the next braking zone. Like, it's a big gap until then. I send it up there to break his slip, have a slide there, which means it's a pretty bad exit, and the Porsche is gonna get close to me again. But with the damage he has, he's not really getting any closer. You see the gap is still the same. It's not really getting closer to me, and the next braking zone is there, and I can just continue to get away from him. That also affects the Lexus. He's really closing in on the Porsche. That means he's pretty slow. Lexus overtakes him easily, and he stays behind me. And here we're gonna see the end of the first stint. We are in P1 for now. Lexus is right behind us as we enter the pits. And it's gonna be a pretty fun of a race again, and it's gonna be pretty exciting because we have the same Lexus in the race as we had in the first race. So we kind of skip forward after the pits. The Lexus was still behind us. We are approaching the golden hour of LeMans. It's pretty nice looking to drive while this time. It's really hard to see sometimes, especially when you're approaching Indianapolis with the sun that low. But the Lexus kept his speed up. He was closing in on us again. I was just trying to get away from him and expand the gap to the Lexus, so Andrew would have a nice and easy drive, so he doesn't really have to battle. That's what I was trying. But as you're gonna see, I'm approaching the pits again. Second stint finished, and the Lexus is even closer behind us. Look at the pit entry. Nearly bumped us there. I didn't really test the limits, and he starts the flashing. We were kinda having fun because it was a really close battle. Really close on our speeds, or on our pace, I would say. It was really close there. So Andrew in the car, he was having a nice drive. His pace was also very good. And we didn't have much trouble. We changed the tires. The Lexus, I think, did the same strat than they did the first race. They only changed one side of the car, and that's why they stay on warm tires nearly all the time. And as you can see, we have someone new into the battle. He's gonna come up the Lexus. He's right behind him. It's a Porsche as well. Kind of picked up the pace on the race, and we didn't really see him coming. Like, he just overtakes the Lexus easily, and he is in the golded Peppa Pig livery. So he just overtook the Lexus easily, and he's approaching us as well. He's next to us on the second chicane. That's when Andrew did this. From the inside it might not look that hard though, but from the outside you're gonna see it's really close to straight up murder. I mean, Andrew goes wide there and comes back the inside and really wants to take the apex there. And it's not his apex. I think he was too late for the center. It's not a really clever dive, I would say. But we said sorry again in the chat, and you can see the Porsche is still behind us. He's really close to us and the Lexus on the next pit stop. And look at the gap again that we had to the Lexus and to the Porsche into the pits. And that's P1, 2 and 3. We're exiting the pits right now, and look at the gaps. That's just such a close race we are having, and it was really fun and exciting to drive it. By the way, I am now back in the car, and I was trying to save for 12 laps so we didn't have to pit in the end. If I was gonna have a gap under 30 seconds, I was gonna be faster than pitting, and that's also the moment I lost both positions. As you're gonna see, the Lexus is just overtaking me when I lift, and the next chicane the same happens to the Porsche. I'm gonna lift 100 meters earlier than the normal saving, and he just easily overtakes me, but I didn't bother. As soon as I gonna have a gap under 30 seconds, I was gonna be fine. Or as soon as the Lexus got into the pits, the gap was 25 seconds, and which meant I was 5 seconds off the gap I could use. So, and now I am on the outlap of the fourth stint of mine, and I just hit the wall on Porsche turns. It doesn't look that bad from the outside, but you're gonna see from the inside how much I am struggling with the wheel. I got both suspension damage, both yellow, and you're gonna see how much I am sliding into Porsche turns. Also, at the same moment, I kinda misjudged with this hypercar. I was so focused on the damage I had and if I was gonna pit this lap or I just gonna bring it over for the next lap. And it is completely on me again. I just don't stay to my line or don't make space for him. I just move up the inside and he just clips me. I get more damage. And he couldn't do anything else. Like, I just closed the space there, which was really stupid. But I didn't really focus on him. I didn't really look into the radar or the mirror. So, I was sorry again. And you're gonna see on the first sector how much of oversteer I had into some turns. How much I had correct to stay alive and don't crash the car again. Tetra Rouge, really sketchy. I'm really drifting around there. Porsche turns even more sketchy. But I was just gonna pit until I spun at Porsche turns. Not really good. And I just gonna rejoin into the hypercar. Completely stupid. I am out of my mind for rejoining at that place. Like, look at the hypercar. He couldn't do anything and I just stupidly drive into the racing line again. Which means that's the stupidest rejoin I could do, and I'm in the pits behind the hypercar I killed, behind the one guy I destroyed the race, and the damage repair was 60 seconds. I think was really okay for the damage we had, but we lost a lot of positions. And also another fact I was really mad about, I lost our win. We were on the first place and it was really looking good, but I just bottled it. Did I stand in the pits with that much damage. Andrew just came back from a break and was asking what I did, and I just said I just got skill issues, and the rejoins were really bad as well. I was so mad about the rejoins and about the crashes I had with them. So the only thing we could do now is recovery drive, because I pitted for 1 lap on our out lap, which meant I could refuel for 1 lap. That means we don't have to save anymore and I can just attack. We can just full push from now on. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna send it up the Corvette, which is saving anyways. It's a position overtake as well, so we're not completely out of the game, and that's when I come into the pits after these 2 devastating stints I had. Or the second one was really bad. The first one was okay, but second one was really devastating. I was really mad about it. So let's just get Andrew back into the car. He's warming up his tires on this straight, and I just told him that there is no need for that, man. You can just drive it and the temperatures are there. You don't have to swerve there, and that's when the Lexus just sends it up the inside because he has warm tires and he can brake later than we can. And Andrew is just gonna snug up his slip and try to stay close to him. And that was also all the events that happened to his first stint. So he comes back in, doesn't need to change tires, and it's his last or our last pit stop. You just have to refuel, and that's when we overtake the next guy. It's the BMW. So we're in P5 right now. We're not completely out of company, and the BMW was 1 lap later into the pits, and we overtook him, and we're pretty much in front of him with a gap of, I think it was 8 seconds, and that's when Andrew had another, or not another, that's when Andrew had his first spin, and look at how close he clipped, or how close he was nearly clipping into the wall. He just stopped it right before it. Would have been really devastating to lose your wing into the last 2 laps, and he saved it. I mean, we lost the position to BMW, which is P6 over the line. We brought it home, and unfortunately I bottled a triple first place win in the 6 hours Le Mans event. Hi, here's Ben out of the editing, and I really want to say a big thank you to all the guys who participated in the events. Thanks to Nuri, Andrew, Niels and Riley, who did the races with me, and also thank you to everyone who watched the video until now. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to comment if you liked the video, because it was my first video. It took a really long time to get used to it, to get used to the editing and the recording. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next videos.